Alright, welcome back everyone to another episode of Mike's Mini Motors. We're back on Brandon's Ruckus again. On the last episode you see we got the motor, exhaust, wheel, the whole back half pretty much ready to go. And today we're going to tackle the wiring, which is going to start with this bundle. This is the stock harness that we pulled off of it. You got your ECU and all that stuff.
Blah, blah.
Yep. And then we also will add in this. This is the GY6 wiring harness from Wrench.
And as you guys saw in the previous videos, we actually took the 12-pin stator and we actually installed it. So that comes in with the kit as well. So this is just what's left over because it gets installed with the stock wiring harness, so you don't have to order some of the more expensive kits.
Yeah. And then the nice thing about the Wrench one is then everything works exactly how it should. Where your start button starts it, kill button kills it. I've heard that some of the other harnesses actually reverse that. So you have to hit the kill switch to start it, and it just sounds confusing to me. So I did the Wrench harness on my Ruckus and really enjoyed it. And so Brandon went with the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, we'll get that bolted on, and then once we get the harness kind of laid back in here, we can get the controls wired up and plugged in, and then even just kind of keep plugging everything in. Get the tank back in.
On, all that stuff.
Yeah, so we'll get started with putting this stock harness and ECU, that whole assembly back on, and then continue on from there. So here's the stock harness kind of laid in there. We've hooked up a couple little ones, but see we got the battery connections here, but we're leaving that loose to do the starter solenoid. We're going to start up here in the front. So all these connectors here and stuff, we went through and identified them. These ones go to the stock cluster, which we're not going to reuse. And so we're just taping those and they'll hang to the side. We got this connector here, which is the start stop. This is your left-hand controls for blinkers, horn, high beam, low beam. And then this guy here is the brake signal. So we'll have to take wires and from the switch there and run them down. Brandon still hasn't gotten the switch for this side. Come on, focus. So we'll just run the wires there and then they'll just dangle for now. We're going to start here getting all these hooked up. This is what that left-hand controls came with. We're going to de-pin the 6-pin here and put them into a 9-pin to match up with this. And then the bullet connectors we'll have to put pins on, which I still have that big connector kit that I bought from Amazon. So that should come in handy for this stuff. And then after that, we should be able to put the front battery box on and get the horn, which has been relocated here. And then the headlights, turn signals, wiring, which is going to these ones. But they wrap around the front of the battery box because Brandon's going with the stock headlights still. So that's where we're going to start with the controls and then onto the headlights. Alright, so we got the controls all wired up minus the start button so far. So you can see it's all back here, kind of tucked away where it's supposed to be. We got our start switch here, the wiring for it at least. This is the stock side. And we're not going to run a kill switch. He's just going to turn the key off. So we'll only use 2 pins out of this. But what we got to do first before tying into this is we're going to add the rolling wrench harness because it actually goes in line between this connector and then normally the stock connector, but since we're adding an aftermarket start switch, it'll go there. So let's get that mounted up. I'll show you guys where that goes and how that all gets routed. It's really basic and simple, and yeah, so it should only take us a couple of minutes. So this is the rolling wrench CDI box that controls the motor and does your spark and everything. And on the back side of it, they include double-sided stick tape so that you can put it. There's a location here on the frame that I routed my wires. Come on, go. behind the harness here. Almost there. And then you see this blank spot in the frame rail, or frame? That's where this goes. So there's the double-sided tape, and you can just stick it right there. Straight. And then this spark plug wire will actually get around with the rest of the harness here. And then you got two other connectors, or hookups. So one of them just plugs right in. There's this little red connector here. Plug all this up under here. So that just plugs into the red connector. And with these connectors, you got to be really careful because these pins can be pretty fragile. And if you just force the connectors together, you can bend the pins and then your stuff wouldn't work. So just be careful. So there's that. This ground will just tie to one of these screws. And then this routes around to the front. And then this is this part that actually goes in line with the factory start switch connector up front. And then we'll tie into the other side with our start switch. And then there's just a ground. And then this other guy, which is the kill switch. I forget off the top of my head. I'll tell you guys in a second. Okay, I'm done. I realized what this goes to. This actually goes to the starter solenoid. And so we'll get this mounted up, and where it comes with just a short little power cable on it, which just goes straight to your positive on the battery. And then we've also got just an actual power cord that will run from here all the way to the back, this guy. Then we also have a ground one that will run from the battery terminal back there just to give the engine and everything better grounding path. So we'll get all that routed on here. And then I think we can put the front battery box on and start getting the headlights and turn signals on there. Okay, so we should be done in the front now. I got the last part, the solenoid here, the starter switch, and then kind of just tucked it all back in this area where it's supposed to be. And so next we can move on to getting the solenoid wired in. And then once we get that done, we can slap the front on, front of the battery box, and start doing the headlights and turn signals. Ta-da! We now have the front headlights and blinkers and the front battery box on there. Since we relocated the horn back actually behind this little vent area. We used the horn wires to extend this blinker over to here because the top or the other blinker reaches. So what we're going to do is we're going to actually unpin this and make our own connector and repin it, and then also down here on the bike side put our own connector on there. So it's just one connector instead of a connector and bullet connectors and all that kind of stuff. So we'll do that. Then the front end is done, I believe. Minus we'll have to do the blinker relay. And then it's going to be routing everything back. Alright, so we got our connector here that we made. And this is our new cable that we ran to our horn since we relocated it. Not zip tying it in close yet because we want to test, make sure the lights and blinkers and everything work. But our battery's dead, so we got the charger on it now. Last thing we have to do up front here is hook up the new blinker relay because we're doing LED blinkers. Instead of doing load resistors, it's just easier to do this. So yeah, we just got to take this is the connector for the old one, cut it off, and then just tie it into there. And then our blinkers should work, at least when our battery's charged. But then after that, we can start routing things back and start moving towards the back. Okay, to replace the blinker relay with an LED one, it's really simple. You just take the old one, cut the connector off just because it won't work. Put a couple spade connectors on there, and then you got a gray and a black wire. And if you look on the bottom, see, you can, I don't know if you can see it or not, but there's a B next to this pin and an L next to that one. So you just put the black wire on the one with the B. If it'll go in there. And then the gray on the L. I don't know what L stands for. And then that's it. That's all there is to that. So now our LED blinker should blink at a normal rate. Plus this relay does have a potentiometer on the bottom that you can manually turn it and adjust your rate of blinking if you want like fast strobing or slow or whatever. All right, so we got the wiring kind of mocked in, just loosely for now, because we got a couple more we're gonna run and we're gonna loom it, but we got a zip tie, just kind of holding it where we want it. And then these cables here we're gonna actually add in because we're adding underglow. You can actually pick this up at Walmart for like $5, and then I'm gonna actually tap into it and use a USB to get it 5 volts, but then it's really cheap underglow. But one thing I wanted to say too that Brandon and I banged our head against for a while. Finish wiring before you start trying to turn things on, because we didn't have the wiring. We had it routed to here to about the tank, but didn't hook up any of the things back here. And we turned it on as soon as we hit the brake. All of a sudden the starter relay was clicking, freaking out, and as soon as we hooked the rest of it up, it worked fine. It's just we were dumb. So don't do that. And yeah, so that's why we cut off some of the hyperlapse of us wiring this in. But yeah, now we got it in there mocked up, and we're gonna run these cables for the underglow, and then we can start looming it from the front to the back and finalizing the harness as we get to certain sections. So here we have the harness completely ran. We just have a couple of, where'd the other one go? These will go to the seat. We're gonna, that's for our tail light. This is for our underglow. And then we also have the underglow we're gonna put under the gas tank. And then I think electrically it's done. We even got the choke set up. We made our own little cable for it. And yeah, so we got the seat here. Brandon went with the R6 tail light, but it didn't come with the bracket like he thought he did. So luckily I got a 3D printer, so we printed one real quick, and now we're gonna get this wired up as long as, as well as a couple of the LED strips off of this guy, and we'll get it wired up to light up blue, and then we can bolt the seat on, and this thing is about done. So here's the seat with the light and underglow lights put on there. One thing I'm not a big fan of is, I don't know if it's this bracket or the tail light or what, but as you see, it actually hits the seat frame when we try to close it, so we have to lift it up to be able to get around, but it is what it is. And then here's the LED strips. I don't trust the double-sided sticky tape, so we also electrical tape a bunch on there just to help hold them on. And then got these ones put in and wired up. We had enough to make 2 rows down here, so did that. And then now we just need to get power to them. So we're going to take this guy here, which is just a cigarette lighter plug with wires, and tap into this 10 amp fuse here, which is, it's powered by the accessory, so it'll turn on and off with the key. And then put in our USB charger into that socket, and wire these up to one of the outlets. The other outlet we're going to just put a USB-C cable in and route up here to the handlebars, because for now Brandon's going to just use his phone for his speedometer and all that kind of fun stuff. So we'll get that put on there, then we can test these lights, make sure they work. Alright, so the underglow is all wired in now, so if I turn the key on, you can see this is under the seat. Got the blue lights there, and then under the tank, you won't really be able to see the lights very well, but they're in there and they're glowing. So that's done. And then we also, to power those, I'll show you here, got that socket with the USB charger in there. Come on, focus. And then ran one of the USBs. Okay. To the underglow lights, which is this guy here. And then the other one we routed up here, well, USB-C, so when Brandon gets his phone mount and stuff, his phone can charge while it's running. So last thing I got left to do is I'm going to put this battery box on. And I think that's, oh, Brandon got his new uni filter in that'll go on the carburetor there. And so I need to get that oiled up, put on there. And then he also got, oh, almost tripped. This here, the switch here for his rear brake lever like we needed. So now his brake lights actually light up. You can kind of see it there in the background. Yeah, so we're doing good and just about done with this thing. So as you can see, this bike is for the most part done. Only things left is the little tabs that go on the front battery box so the screws can go in. We weren't sure where they were at. I think they were at Brandon's house. And so it's just sitting on here right now, so I actually bolted on. And then his pegs. I gave him these old Pastor JDM pegs that were on my bike when I got it. But we don't have the hardware to put them on right now. So I got new pegs for my bike, so when I swap them out, the hardware I have on my pegs, the currently installed pegs, we'll use on here. So that'll be coming up. But yeah, this thing is good to go. Got the air filter on there now and stuff. And so the next thing would be to get this thing started. But Brandon's not here anymore tonight, so I'm going to wait until he's here. So you guys have to wait till the next episode, unfortunately. But that's going to wrap this one up. Said the bike's done. We got the battery cover on, or should be the tank cover on, and all that. So yeah, let me know what you guys think. Leave a comment below. Like the video if you're liking what we're doing, and like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. So thanks a lot for watching, and stay tuned for the startup of this guy.